We welcome you to U.S. Cellular Field, Game 2 of a 3-game set as the Sox continue to host their AL Central mates, the Cleveland Indians, who picked up a 7-1 victory in the series opener yesterday. Thanks for joining us. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone along with you. 5 runs, first 2 innings in yesterday's game for Cleveland. Sox turn to Chris Sale today.
Anytime you look to your number one pitcher, you expect a whole lot of innings, and you'd like to expect a win. And that's what Chris Sale did last time out. He didn't throw the ball great against Oakland. However, he threw it well enough. He had one tough inning, and then he shut the door with a steady variety of off-speed pitches and sliders. Hopefully more of the same today. Against the Tribe, the numbers aren't spectacular, but last year he had a 2.17 ERA against him. Overall, he's 4-6, but this Cleveland team has given him some problems. Well, take a look at the numbers. You see the 4-6 record. His ERA lifetime, 3.68, which isn't bad. That's 25 appearances, including 14 starts. But they're hitting 250 against him, which is something that most teams don't do. So looking for more of the same out of Chris that he showed in Oakland, and we'll see what happens today. But Cleveland's got some guys who can hit. Yeah, that lineup very talented, led by Jason Kipnis, who you may have heard by now is a local product. He's from Glenbrook North here in Chicago. Something about this ballpark and the Chicago White Sox brings out the best in Jason Kipnis. He's hit 5 home runs lifetime against our Sox in this park. And U.S. Cellular, maybe in front of the home folks, he just picks it up a couple of notches. And yesterday was no exception. He can play a good, solid second base. Look at his numbers career-wise at this park. 319 with the aforementioned 5 home runs, 26 driven in 38 games. Plays a solid second base, and now he plays a much bigger role because Michael Brantley, their leader, their star, is out of the lineup. Sox are trying to even the series at 1 apiece here in this game number 2. We'll continue to set you up for first pitch coming up next from U.S. Cellular Field.
Chicago White Sox baseball is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. Honda, start something special with a great deal on a Honda, now at your Honda dealer. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Ford, America's best-selling brand 6 years running, inviting you to check out our fuel-efficient lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. And by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers. Test drive their all-star lineup today. Visit buyhyundai.com.
Cellular Field. There was snow on the ground just a couple of hours ago, but Roger Bossert and the crew has the field in pristine condition and ready to go. A couple of minutes before first pitch today, and the Indians turn to Cody Anderson, who won the 4th starter job out of spring training.
Cody Anderson is a huge right-hander. They list him at 6'4", 240. Last year he was a little heavier than that. But as you can see, the last 5 starts he was brilliant. 5-0, his ERA a touch over 1. That covered 33 innings. He struck out 18. He walked just 12. But opponent's batting average of 218 is a very good number. And talking with the Indians people, he lost some weight in the wintertime. That allows him to throw a bit harder than he threw last year. Maybe not a good sign for our hitters.
Well, the only Sox player with a career home run against Anderson is Melky Cabrera. That came last year. Sox and Indians ready to go from U.S. Cellular Field. Game 2 just around the corner. You buy Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Pre-game fireworks here at U.S. Cellular Field as the Sox get ready to take on the Cleveland Indians. It's a chilly day. We're going to play anyway.
We got bright sunshine. That's a radical departure from yesterday. But although the fans, I'm sure, bundled up, I would say all things considered, this is a good day to win a ball game.
Starting lineup for the Cleveland Indians, written out by Terry Francona. Rajai Davis at the top of the card, then Kipnis, who we told you about, Francisco Lindor, the 22-year-old in the 3 spot, then Napoli, Santana, and Gomes, Uribe, Ramirez. Colin Cowgill gets the start for the first time in the series. Stoney, the defense, please.
Let's take a look at the defense and how they'll line up behind Chris Sale. Melky Cabrera in left field. Then it's Austin Jackson, who's off to a good start with J.B. Shuck getting a start in right. Todd Frazier, Jimmy Rollins, Brett Lowry, and Jose Abreu round out the infield with Alex Avila getting the nod behind the plate. And Chris Sale on the hill looking for win number 2. He went 7 innings first time out. Gave it the 3 earned runs. That was all in 1 inning where he was throwing a few too many fastballs. He later straightened that out with only 1 walk and 8 strikeouts. So the big man looking to make it 5-6 career-wise against the Tribe. And hopefully today his offense will come to life, score a few more runs than yesterday. And so let's take a look at the umpires for the game today. The crew chief, Bill Miller, is behind the plate. Tony Randazzo is at first. Brian Knight is at second. And Todd Tishner is at third. And so without any further delay, I will flip it over to my play-by-play partner, Jason Bonetti.
Thank you, Steve. And for a moment before first pitch, let me take a brief second and thank Hawk Harrelson for his kindness and his genuine feeling for me in letting me occupy this chair and endorsing me, and I couldn't appreciate it any more than I do. First pitch, a strike from Chris Sale to Rajai Davis to open the game.
He had some very kind things to say about you yesterday.
He is he's a very genuine man and has been with me, and I really appreciate what he's done. 0-2 to Rajai Davis as the Sox try to get on the board in the win column in this series. And Chris Sale is off to a magnificent start, 3 pitches.
Davis yesterday came through with a big triple and then made a sterling catch in center field. So although he did strike out 3 times and make it 4 for the series, his triple coming in the 2nd inning was one of the keys to that 2-run inning.
That first inning yesterday, Alex Avila has said, he said after the game, that ball that he misplayed with Carlos Santana's swinging bunt kind of changed the tide of the whole game, and Avila is a veteran who took responsibility for it.
There's no doubt it's a play that had he had to think about it again, he would have made a different play, but you just don't have that second thought.
John Danks, on the other hand, said, look, I shouldn't have put my catcher and my team in that position. I think those 2 responses speak to where this team is in terms of unity at this point in the season, 5 games in. First pitch out of the zone from Sale to Jason Kipnis.
And out of the zone is a debatable issue. That ball just missed off the outside corner, but a good call by Bill Miller.
Right side and through for Kipnis, who's now got 2 hits in the series for the Indians.
We talked about it before the game. Jason Kipnis hits the ball exceptionally well in his ballpark. This is a fastball. It's down where Kipnis likes it. It's got a little bit more of the plate than Chris Sale would have liked, and Kipnis, with a whole lot of his family and friends in the seats, he's aboard.
So here is the man who led all AL rookies in wins above replacement WAR last year, Francisco Lindor, the shortstop, just 22 years old.
And a lot of our fans not familiar with wins above replacement. That means if you're a starting position player in the major leagues, you start with a 2. 2 above replacement is the starter. That means that you're probably going to be 2 games better than anybody on the team who comes in and replaces you. And of course they go up from there, and the good ones, the all-stars, those are guys like Mike Trout. They range anywhere from 6 to 8 in wins above replacement.
Your broadcaster WAR is 12 currently, from what I've heard.
But it can only go down from there. That's the sad part.
Yeah, it's troubling. The impending decline of Steve Stone. Sale misses inside, 3-0 on Lindor.
Lindor, a switch hitter, and like most switch hitters, probably a little bit more powerful from the left side where he gets most of his at-bats, except against the Sox.
3-1.
But right-handed, we saw yesterday that he swings the bat equally well. Had a couple of base hits yesterday and 4 at-bats.
And he was part of that 3-run first inning. He singled as the 3rd batter, moving Kipnis over. Then Napoli walked, and the aforementioned error. 3-2 on Lindor, the shortstop. Crowd still filing in here. There was some ice that was repeating and repeating and repeating. It just would not stop on the ramps on the way into the ballpark. So the crowd is a late into the ballpark crowd. But they are on their way. And there's ball 4 from Sale. 2 on, 1 out in the first inning for Cleveland. So here's Napoli, who's 2 for 9 so far this season, 34-year-old first baseman.
He's one of the guys the Indians brought over in the offseason to help shore up what they felt was one of their biggest weaknesses, and that was the offense. They would have loved to be able to score a few more runs to go with that outstanding starting pitching.
Yeah, 3.67 team ERA last year, was 8th in baseball.
And they had a very good back end of the bullpen. Brian Shaw, as he usually does, picked up a lot of games.
Napoli's the kind of guy who's been around the postseason a lot. He's played in 51 playoff games into his career. Strike 1 to him.
Well, that's one of the reasons why you bring him over to a team that has a lot of young players. And Napoli knows how to play winning baseball. Was a catcher originally and then moved to first base.
Just inside from Sale, 2-1.
Napoli just 1 for 13 lifetime against Chris. That's why you hate to fall behind against a hitter when you've had his number.
What do you mean by that?
If you know you can get a hitter out, you usually go right at him. You don't want to fall behind because then he can sit and look fastball and pretty much take the guessing game out of the equation. So in this case, he's pulled even at 2-2, and hopefully an off-speed pitch can get him to pound the ball in the ground because he's an inviting double play target.
Fouled away by Napoli. One of the things Chris Sale said in spring training was he wants to keep that pitch count number down. He wants to get deeper into games to help out the bullpen. And this is one of those spots today where the bullpen had to eat a bunch of innings yesterday. 3 from Dan Jennings, 1 from Zach Putnam in the 9th. Time called for the pitch.
Well, Chris is not going to be able to keep that pitch total down if he keeps walking people, falling behind, and he's going to strike out his share. He always does. So last year, close to 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's the best strikeout number per 9 innings in the history of the Chicago White Sox.
Inside, 3-2 for Napoli. I mean, the numbers are just outlandish for Sale last year. The 274 strikeouts, breaking the longest club record for any team in baseball in terms of single season strikeouts. Ed Walsh's record. "3-2 in the air from Napoli and playable for Abreu, and the infield fly rule makes out number 2 along with the catch from Jose. 32 degrees. Steve Stone, you are all bundled up, cushy in the corner.
You know, it is 32, and I understand that, but it's a deceptive 32 in that it's a wet cold instead of that dry cold that you hear so much about. And you see, that's the winter hat day.
Yeah.
They're lovely winter hats, one that you would look exceptionally good in.
You think so?
We're hoping later on to get a shot of you in the booth.
Sale with strike 1 to Carlos Santana, the switch hitter. You said you were planning to take a shot at me in the booth later. Is that?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure if it would fit very well over your headphones, however, but
that's a good look. The
it.
fluorescent is a good look. That's like the X Games Fargo look.
There you can see
Joe, our cameraman.
Joe paws back, and he looks just terrific in that.
Yeah. Dapper, some might say. Do we agree with those some?
No, we don't.
1-1 on Santana. Sale trying to pitch over a first inning jam. And that's a foul ball, 1-2.
Santana does a lot of things well. One of them is not run, one of them is not field. But what he does well is take a lot of walks and drive in a lot of runs. That's one of the reasons why they wanted him in the lineup. They feel he's best suited as a designated hitter. That's where he was yesterday. And he drove in 2 runs with a base hit and reaching base on an error.
4 out of 10 this season for Santana. And that slider gets away from Avila, but not far enough for Lindor and Kipnis to move up.
Well, the oddity in that is that Kipnis out at second base sees an unobstructed throw to third, because he sees Avila coming out toward third base, so he's not going to risk ending the inning at third. On the other hand, Lindor was halfway down to second base. He goes to second easily, but for the runner in front of him.
So still first and second, 2 out, and Sale's pitch is swung on and missed. Strike 3. Sale goes upstairs on Santana, and bookend strikeouts for Chris Sale. Bottom 1 coming up. Sox coming to bat. With this lineup, Adam Eaton is out. His wife is currently in labor, expecting their first child. So Eaton out, Austin Jackson at the top of the card. Then Rollins and Abreu, Frazier, Cabrera, Laurie and Garcia flip spots 6 and 7. Avila and JB Shuck in the 9th position. Steve?
Let's take a look at the defense, and we'll swing around and see how they line up behind Cody Anderson, Ramirez, Davis, and Cowgill in the outfield. With Uribe, Lindor, Kipnis, and Napoli in the infield. Yan Gomes once again behind the plate. And big right-hander Cody Anderson on the hill. There you see the numbers from last year in 15 starts. Especially effective in his last 5. And his changeup, by far his second best pitch, so they'll have to look for that.
One of the best pitchers in baseball last September. Anderson fires in a strike to Austin Jackson, who's 4 out of 13, batting mostly from the 9 spot for the Sox in that road trip to Oakland in yesterday's game.
Anderson doesn't strike out a whole lot of guys, but the fastball has a little more pop on it this year as he's gotten into very good shape.
Why don't we tell you about today's picks to click? What do you think?
I would think that that would be just a capital idea.
Let's go ahead and do it. Are you going to fund it with the capital?
Oh yeah, you wait for that.
After the 1 and 2 from Anderson to Jackson is downstairs. Crew has selected Alex Avila today. Steve Stone with JB Shuck, and I'm going with Brett Laurie. Clean slate on the leaderboard.
Do you think the adjustment in the batting order right before the game will affect Brett Laurie at all?
We'll talk that over throughout the game. Very important decisions been made. On the ground ball to third, Uribe on target enough for Napoli to make the tag on Jackson. And 1 down.
Hunt still has one of the strongest arms around, but this time that throw was up the line toward the home plate side, and Napoli was able to come off, put on the tag, and save Uribe an error.
It's not an easy play for a first baseman, is it? You got to react pretty quickly to that throw, don't you?
No, and you're really hoping that the ball and the runner don't get to the same spot, because a lot of first basemen, it's not difficult to break an elbow.
Jimmy Rollins, who takes ball 1.
Yeah, if they get extension on the arm and the runner runs through it, I've seen it a number of times.
Got inside on him a little bit. 1-1 on Rollins. It's been Jimmy Rollins or Melky Cabrera in the 2 spot for the Sox so far this year. Cabrera had a nice game in that 2 position in his game there in Oakland, getting on base 3 times. Rollins in the air to center. Davis has a play on it just short of the warning track for route number 2.
I don't know if you've ever been involved in much of a quandary during the early part of your life, but the quandary with Cody Anderson is that...
I like a good quandary, by the way, I do.
And he throws his changeup almost 35% of the time when you have 2 strikes. Yet no hitter can look for a changeup and expect to hit the fastball. So knowing that he does it a lot doesn't necessarily help you in trying to prepare for the pitch.
So then as you watch tape, what are you looking for?
What you're looking for is where he's strong. Is he strong as a right-handed pitcher inside to the right-hand hitter, or is he stronger away? You're also looking for the movement of the slider. He really hasn't perfected a curveball yet. You want to see if that slider has some depth to it, or does it just move across like a semi-cutter?
0-2 fades outside. 1-2. He's a young player in terms of his major league career. This is his 2nd season and first full season in the majors.
Yeah, he's 25 years old, 14th round draft pick by the Indians in 2011. So they hit some gold in the 14th round.
That ball stayed up on him, and Abreu lifts it foul. Jose Abreu with a double, a homer, and 3 knocked into his name so far this year.
Anderson, like many, drafted originally by the Tampa Bay Rays, elected not to sign, then picked up 3 spots in the draft from the 17th to the 14th round with the Indians.
Low fastball, 2-2. Rarely do you see guys lose ground in the draft.
Not too often, especially if they're drafted out of high school and then wait till their third year of college. They're going to pick up a lot of rounds and usually a lot of dollars. But you're assuming, number one, you're in a program that teaches you a lot about the game, and two, you're assuming you stay healthy, which sometimes is difficult through 3 years of college baseball.
3-2. That is the first walk of the season for Jose Abreu. He's down in the count. Nice work.
Good eye, and the biggest factor was he didn't have any off-speed breaking balls to swing at. There was one slider, and then he missed with 3 fastballs to put him on first base, keep the inning alive for a man who hit the ball very well yesterday in Todd Frazier.
The very gregarious first-year Sox third baseman at 200 for the season, including the first home run for the Sox. Frazier to left, Ramirez coming forward. Just got jammed, inning over. Sox get a runner on, but nobody home across. After 1, no score. Here at U.S. Cellular Field, Jason Benetti, Steve Stone, our entire crew here on the south side of Chicago. And Yan Gomes will lead it off against Chris Sale, the Brazilian-born catcher for Cleveland. By the way, you are watching the coldest start in Chris Sale's major league career. The prior low mercury was 44 degrees. This is well below.
And considering he's from Florida, where he didn't pitch in weather anything like this, has to be unusual for him. However, he is wearing short sleeves, and pitchers will tell you they believe very much to the pitcher's advantage when it's this cold, especially if you go inside on the hitters. They don't like that very much.
The fingers start to burn, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
32 degrees at U.S. Cellular Field this afternoon. Third base side, Jimmy Rollins is up with it, and Abreu the stretch for out number 1. Hey, Sox fans, the Angels are coming to town to play your Chicago White Sox from Monday, April 18th to Thursday, April 21st. All fans in attendance at any of these games will receive a 2016 Chicago White Sox calendar. Purchase your tickets today at WhiteSox.com or call 866-SOX-GAME.
The Angels not off to a great start. They're 1-3, but Mike Trout coming to town is always worth the price of admission. Albert Pujols suddenly rejuvenated Albert, getting behind Trout, and if Trout doesn't get you, there's a good chance Albert will.
You know, Cole Calhoun's pretty talented player there too.
I like him a lot. Always have.
So here's Juan Uribe with 1 out, nobody on against Sale. And 2-0. You were talking about the cold weather. How much did you do short sleeves? Did they have long sleeves when you pitched?
They had exceptionally long sleeves, but I had exceptionally short arms. So I decided to cut off the sleeves and go with the short sleeve look. I just felt that it was more comfortable for me. And then you have these things called analgesic-like toppings.
Ball 4. Do not put those on your ice cream.
No.
By the way.
Or any other place besides your arm. They used to use a different one in the days that I pitched called Capsulin, which was astonishingly hot. And you could actually put it on your arm and not even feel like you had short sleeves on.
Really?
Yes. It was really good.
Second walk for Sale, and Jose Ramirez, who had a fine spring training, stands in for the Indians. Both teams right now are chasing the Tigers, who are one of 2 remaining unbeatens in the American League. Tigers at 3-0, the Orioles 4-0 entering play today. Big chopper over the mound. Laurie on the charge, wildly with the throw.
It's probably going to be base hit E4.
That's exactly what it is.
He's going to be able to make this play, except this throw is behind Ramirez on the play. And unfortunately, that opens the door. Runners at the corners, only 1 out. It was an error yesterday that certainly aided the drive early. Chris Sale wants to pitch over this one.
And if you missed it, there were bases loaded in the first inning yesterday. Carlos Santana had the epitome of a swinging bunt, basically. He was out in front of home plate, but far enough that Alex Avila had to take a couple steps to go get it. He thought about pitching to John Danks, who was coming to the plate. Danks wasn't there, as Abreu spears it in a double play. Right at the bag, and the inning comes to an end. Sox bat next.
To get out of the second inning. An excuse me swing goes right at Abreu at first. And just like that, Ramirez doubled off out of the inning. The speed replay is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
Really?
Yeah, we broke that one out early. We have to wait usually for our Xfinity speed replay, but that was as speedy as you could get.
That was very speedy. First pitch, a strike to Melky Cabrera. switch hitter who is all bundled up today. He's got the neck warmer.
I can understand that. A little chilly down there. And Melky was not born on the Bering Sea.
You know, not everybody gets to have their personal window closed. So some people have to brave the elements this afternoon.
I normally would, but, you know, this being my people's Sabbath, I decided that the window would be good.
Cabrera golfs this one to left, and the Sox have their first hit of this game. After a wide turn, he retreats to first.
Well, it's good to see Melky using the whole field, number one, and also starting to hit the baseball a little bit better. This is a changeup, and he's able to stay right with it, just poke it into left field. There's a really good example of how to hit changeups. You can move your feet forward, but you have to keep your hands back. That's what Melky did. He was fooled originally by the velocity, and then because he had his hands back, able to recover and poke it in the left.
So 1 on, nobody out for Brett Lawrie, who is historically a good first pitch hitter. He goes up there. That first one is generally a pretty high success rate for him if he does swing and make contact. 3 out of 18 for this season for Lawrie.
But here is the rub. Moan Frere.
Lawrie to left. 2 on for the Sox with nobody out in the second inning.
The opponents have hit just .246 against Cody Anderson on the first pitch all of last year. That's 7th highest or 7th best out of 137 qualified starters. So in not hitting the first pitch, he was playing right into Laurie's hands as he pummeled the second pitch into left field.
What do you make of that? Why do you think that is for some pitchers that they have such success on the field?
I honestly believe that's a statistical anomaly. I think that could absolutely turn completely around this year, and nobody would know why it happened last year nor why it turned around this year.
So relevancy is irrelevant?
Yes.
Here's Avi Garcia in a situation where with somebody else you might think about bunting here early in the game, get the runners over to second and third, but the power bat up. Avi takes a first pitch swing.
You might, and then you go back and you think you've got 8 and 9 coming up, although they're both left-hand hitters. So, I mean, if Avi could bunt the ball consistently, you would think about that, but not in this situation.
Fouled away, 0-2.
And that goes to what a manager knows about his ball club. It's very important to know what your players can do, but it's even more important to know what your players can't do. And then don't ask them to do it. That's what makes players successful. That's what makes really good managers. Understanding what his players can't do and never putting them in a position to do that.
Upstairs with a fastball, and Anderson has thrown 9 pitches this inning. They've all been strikes and 1 down.
I think this has to be a cutter in that it was 89 miles an hour, and probably try to throw it away, but not a bad idea with 2 strikes to throw one higher than high. The fastball we've seen today tops out at 94, so Anderson is throwing a bit harder than he threw last year.
He had a career high 6 strikeouts in a game here at U.S. Cellular Field against the Sox on September the 18th last season. Part of that bang up September for young Cody Anderson. Another fastball, 0-1.
Yeah, that time he got it up there 94, which is more like his fastball, which, by the way, is probably 2 or 3 miles an hour faster than he threw last season.
Yeah, the reports on his spring training were that his velocity has certainly picked up. An off-season workout program got him there. Low portion of the zone, 0-2. They have some strong arms on this team. We saw Danny Salazar yesterday, and he can really rear back.
They've also got some very good pensmen. I mean, dependable guys that can rush it up there. Talk about Cody Allen, their closer, at 34 saves last year. He's a 97, 98 guy.
Up and out, 1-2.
Trevor Bauer's got a good fastball. We saw him in relief yesterday.
See, that's the way to handle the weather. You don't have any part of your face other than the eyes. You can see and nothing else. 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I would like to really applaud the idea that the Sox had today of safety first, because a lot of the ice did not melt in the upper deck. Not only did they hold people back from going there, they eventually closed the upper deck and re-ticketed people to bring them down into the lower bowl to make sure that nobody got hurt up there. So safety first is always a real good way to play it. And the fans, I'm sure, are appreciative of the fact that they get not only a little bit better seat, but they also get a warmer seat if that's possible when it's 32 degrees.
There's a lot more sun in the outfield than the upper deck. Just scanning. 2-2. Right side, Kipnis, Lindor, safe, and they got him on the second chance. Laurie couldn't scramble in time, so first and third, 2 down.
At first, this looks like a very easy double play. But as you can see, Brett Lawrie, if he was running full go, he's into second base easily. He stopped, hesitated, and then he slid.
Well, the new slide rule may have come into play there, don't you think?
I understand that, but you don't have to slide until you get a little bit closer to the bag, and because that ball pulled Lindor well wide of the bag, there was going to be no interference called on that one.
So here's J.B. Shuck. Up and in. He was thinking about the squeeze with 2 out.
Take a look at it again. He thought perhaps with Uribe back at third, maybe he could bunt his way aboard. Whether it scores a run or not, you leave it up to Jackson, who is hitting over 300.
Fouled off by Shuck.
This is what managers like to do to guys that will primarily hit off the bench and be pinch hitters late in the game, and that is every now and then you get them 4 at-bats. If you do that, they're able to stay sharp. You can't really do it just in batting practice, so you'd like to see it under game conditions. And you had a look at Terry Francona, 17th year as a major league manager.
4th year over here after taking them to the playoffs in his first season. And J.B. Shuck in the lineup with Adam Eaton out. His wife Katie, as we're told by the Sox, is in labor right now, expecting their first child. So congratulations to Adam and his wife Katie. Hope everything goes as smoothly as possible, and they will be parents very soon. Inside, he tested the corner. It's 3-1 on Shuck with the aforementioned Jackson next.
Now you get a young pitcher on the mound, even though you have somewhat of a veteran catcher. Just look fastball. See if you can get one and put a charge into it.
3-1. There was the fastball.
He got it, but he got it up and away, not exactly where he would have ordered it if he had that choice. And Napoli went up and told Anderson he's going to play behind him at first base.
Avila at first, Cabrera at third. 3-2 from Anderson. Upstairs, ball 4.
Second walk by Anderson. Time to take advantage of this early wildness on the part of the young right-hander. As we saw yesterday, when the Indians broke out on top and they kept adding to their lead, it became very difficult to come back in that one, and we were facing Danny Salazar. An early lead to Chris Sale here will make it just as tough for the Tribe to come back at Chris.
Remember in that opening day start in Oakland, for the folks that didn't see it, Sox got 4 runs in that 3rd inning and staked Chris Sale to an early lead, which turned into a 1-run win. High again to Jackson. Upstairs over and over again. What does that suggest to you mechanically from Anderson?
Well, he's not what you would consider a classic drop and drive guy. That terminology hasn't been used in a while, but that means when you drop your back leg, in his case it's the right leg, and you drive right at the hitter. A lot of guys throw off either a stiff front landing leg or they keep their back leg straighter up than most. Consequently, everything is up high.
In 2-0.
And I will tell you, this is an interesting transition because, yes, he added a few more miles an hour in the spring, some say 2 to 3. What happens when you add to your fastball, you have a tendency to believe that now you can throw it through a wall, and consequently, instead of pitching with it, you start throwing with it. Everything stays up higher than it was last year.
That was center cut. Jackson to left. Ramirez is there. Close, but no cigar for the Sox in the second. Bases loaded. Averted by Anderson. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone, our entire crew. As the Indians will go with the top 3 in the card, and we will continue to shovel snow off of the batter's eye. You know, if it's too white out there, that's going to affect the pitcher, isn't it? And the hitter?
Actually, really, I don't think that that's a great idea, sweeping the snow off the batter's eye. I prefer to actually add snow to the batter's eye.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, because the whiter it gets, the more difficult it is to pick up a white baseball. And so if they can find a way to perhaps sweep it off when the Sox are hitting and then add some when the Indians are hitting.
So you're encouraging the fans out there to make some snowballs, or just the crew
Sure.
to pile it up and then dump it back on, and they'll just keep doing it over and over again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Seems like a worthwhile use of time.
A 1-0 game for Chris Sale would be pretty good.
He can do that without the snow on the batter's
True.
eye, wouldn't you say? Since he's been a starter with the Sox, they have not lost his home opening start.
Well, hopefully that trend continues.
Ball and a strike on Kipnis. Couple-time All-Star, second baseman for the Cleveland Indians.
Chris Sale, one of the few guys that didn't mind seeing Michael Brantley. Brantley only hitting 182 against him. But Brantley hit so very well against everybody else that it probably would affect things later in the game when the Sox inevitably will go to the bullpen.
Sprayed foul by Kipnis. You know, next time we see Cleveland in May here in Chicago, that might be a totally different team. Lonnie Chisenhall just went on a AAA rehab assignment to Columbus. Brantley, they hope, will be back sooner rather than later. So a much different outfield.
And the one guy that they would love to have, but they don't think he's going to come up quite this early, is Giovanni Urshela. Number one, he's a wizard with the glove at third base, and they believe with Lindor and Urshela, they're going to have an outstanding defense that way. And they believe Urshela is going to be able to hit and hit for power.
Down and away, 3-2.
When I talked with Terry Francona about Urshela, he said he just needs more minor league at bats. He said if he gets those at bats, and we don't know if it's going to be halfway, 2/3 of the way through, he said when he comes here, we expect him to come here to stay.
Strike three from Sale, his third punch out.
That's one of the great things about Chris Sale, is that you can't really guess with him because he has supreme confidence in the fastball, the slider, which that was, and the straight change, and he'll throw it 3-2 or any other count. And so Kipnis just got outguessed and looks at a third.
2 down for Lindor, the shortstop. Takes strike one. One of 2 walks today for the Tribe, for Lindor. Fly ball center field. Austin Jackson, easy does it for Sale. 1-2-3 inning, bottom 3 coming next. New shiny screen in the booth. Do you like it?
It's fairly substantial. Yes, I do like it indeed.
We're going to play with it right now. Cody Anderson, last time he faced the Sox, it was a much different lineup. There you see the differences. There are only 3 guys in the lineup today, as opposed to that the last time we saw Anderson back in September of last year.
I would say that's almost completely different. In fact, 66.6% difference.
That is it's 2 out of 3, Steve.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Yeah.
How about that? I was talking to Todd Steverson, the Sox hitting coach, earlier today. He had just finished watching film of that start of Anderson. He said, "Can you believe that lineup? I mean, as compared to how it stands right now, so many guys have come through this clubhouse just in the past year."
Well, Todd was able to see the results of the lineup that was thrown out there last year and realize that unless something was done things weren't going to get a whole lot better, and Rick Hahn went out there and did a whole lot.
In the air right side, and one away.
Hey, Chicagoland viewers, it's time for the Subway third inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999 right now, and the 300th texter will win a $30 gift card to Subway restaurants in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do.
You cannot win.
Oh, but by the way, I just thought I'd let you know there is a Subway very close to where both of us currently are staying.
Abreu, a blast. This one is way out of here, and the Sox are on the board first in a heartbeat from Abreu.
That's home run number 2. He's driven in 4. He has the exact numbers as Todd Frazier, who also has a couple of home runs and also has driven in 4. This a no-doubter. This looked like a cutter. He tried to throw it away from Abreu, and he just reached out and crushed a line drive home run. So for Anderson, he finds himself down.
Strike to Todd Frazier, and that is another donation to Chicago White Sox charities from Alex Snellius in loving memory of his wife Ursula for that Abreu home run.
That was a pretty good curveball, one of the few that Anderson has broken out, but occasionally when you give up a rocket of a home run on a cutter, you decide to break out a new pitch.
That is self-preservation. Another curveball. Uribe had to hurry and didn't make it cleanly.
That ball hit the seam of where the grass hits the dirt and took an abrupt right turn to him. So he's looking at a ball that he believes is going to hop naturally. When it just hit the seam, it flattened out and he got eaten up by it. So he's charged E5.
So the former shortstop with the error, 1 on, 1 out for Melky Cabrera, who singled to left last time up, last inning. To your point, though, you get touched up for a homer off of one pitch, and especially being early in your major league career, how long will it take for Anderson to go back to that pitch?
Oh, I don't think he's going to worry about that very much. I mean, he got it in a bad spot. Jose was out. He's a home run hitter. You're going to give up some to him.
Melky got under this one. Napoli and Kipnis are over, and no.
Well, that's an I got it, you take it. Or rather, you take it and I got it. But the fact is, that's Kipnis's ball. Napoli goes back. He's got his back to home plate. It's a much easier play as Kipnis is looking straight at home plate. And we'll see. Very much second baseman's ball. He has to call him off, and he has to take it. And at the end of the day, another life for the Milkman.
That basically split them 50-50, right in between both Kipnis and Napoli. And a check to first. Sox have 1 steal, 3 tries thus far. 5 games in, plus 2 innings this afternoon. Melky Cabrera, 3 for 17 entering today, but 3 walks, so a .300 on base percentage in the first week of the season. Jammed him. Loud call from Lindor, and he's got it for out number 2. Join us for Dia de la Familia at U.S. Cellular Field when the White Sox face the Texas Rangers Saturday, April 23rd. First 20,000 fans get a Jose Abreu plush bleacher creature presented by Total Performance Engine Oils. Visit WhiteSox.com to purchase your tickets today. They spelled total out for me.
Yes, I know.
Phonetically.
And
that is a low bar, isn't it?
I noticed that yesterday.
Yeah.
I figured you could adjust the total, but you never know. I actually looked at some of those today, by the way, picking out the best of the plush bleacher creature.
Oh, you did?
Abreu, yeah. Is in Bob Grimm's office. And
rifling through the toys?
Well, trying to pick out the plushiest.
Yeah, how do you pick which one's better?
It jumps out at you. You have to have experience in that department.
2 down for Laurie. And another look at Frazier at first.
Wind very much a factor again today, but instead of yesterday blowing straight out toward center and left center, today the wind is blowing across toward the right field foul line. But the wind still will swirl and make things pretty difficult here.
On the ground from Laurie. Abreu on the go for out number 3. Well, this was anything but plush from Jose Abreu. A blast to left, and the Sox lead 1-0 after 3.
By logging on to WGN.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. Sox Game Zone is powered by Dodd Camera. It's family owned for 125 years, handling all your photographic needs. Dodd Camera, where the focus is on you, Jason Benetti. The focus is on you. Yes.
How about on the Sox instead? They're up 1-0.
Hopefully an insurmountable lead, but I'd like to see a little bit more.
What are you doing with that paper they handed you? You just threw it on the ground?
No, I'm trying to usher it into its proper spot in the receptacle.
The circular file?
I'm about ready, by the way, to make a major announcement this half inning.
Oh, you are?
I thought I would warn you ahead of time.
Thank you, I think.
Because you're a big part of this.
Am I?
Yes.
Okay.
Like to announce my retirement? No, actually, that's
my
not.
Goodness,
that's not
great!
It.
Only
no.
you survived 3 innings. That was it. It's been fun. Great to see you.
No, I have decided to start, and I've laid back, but you have instructed me so very well. I've decided to start tweeting.
Really?
Yes. Bringing it into this new era. I understand they just started tweeting just a little bit ago.
Oh,
like
yeah, it was recently.
15, 20 minutes ago. And just in case, it's at Steve Stone.
They even put it on the screen for you. 3-2. And as is typical, I get second billing.
But you'll also get many more tweets because you are on the immediate answer plan.
What?
I'm on the answer sometimes later in the year, sometimes next year, the year after.
Bouncing ball on 3-2. And one away.
One of the things we've seen in the early going from the White Sox is that they're shifting a lot more. And there's an example of a fairly exaggerated shift, and that ball hit right back up the middle, which normally would be a base hit, but saw Brett Lawrie right in front of it.
Well, as we talked about in the pregame with Rich King, I had mentioned that Cole Hamels said yesterday after a 7-inning start, he said, look, the analytics that I get from my team make me feel more prepared for what I'm doing.
And I have to believe that with the analytics every team has at their disposal this year and shares with their players, things move a little bit better. Now, it's one thing to be able to shift to the propensity of where the guy hits it, but it's another thing for the pitcher to throw the ball which will force him to hit it into that shift.
So you're saying essentially they have to be in sync, the defense and the pitcher. They've got to know what each other's doing.
You're going to look back and you're going to see everybody in the outfield swung around, let's say if it's a right-hand hitter, swung around to play him as a dead pull hitter. The last thing you really want to do is throw him a lot of soft, consistent off-speed stuff, because he's going to probably hit the ball pretty well.
Big chopper, Sale after it, and out number 2. Well done by Chris Sale.
Chris has been a terrific athlete since he put on that Sox uniform, and that time he realized with a strong arm he had just enough time to make the catch. Not exactly hurry into it, but he knows Santana doesn't have the great speed, so he makes a pinpoint throw to first base. And from a first base standpoint, what you want to do is what Jose did. You give him the target to the fair side of the bag to give him a better angle.
2 down for Yan Gomes. Takes ball 1. One of 3 Brazilian-born Major League Baseball players all time. The other 2 have Sox ties. Paulo Orlando, who came up through the Sox system before ending up with Kansas City, and then Andre Rienzo, the other one.
Andre had a really good curveball. Looked like the stuff was good enough. Couldn't get it over the plate consistently enough. He was a terrific guy. And the Sox gave him a couple of opportunities to not only get here, but stay here. Just didn't work out for him.
Shortstop and Rollins. Sale back-to-back 1, 2, 3 innings after that double play to close out the second. Sox lead 1-0. Twitter. We decided to take a Twitter question, and a question I got was, who looks better in the winter hat for today? So you all judge for yourselves.
What do you think?
It's a tie.
I got a bit of a taller hat.
You do. Avi Garcia, first pitch hunting down the right field side, and foul.
It's not only a taller hat, but this is when I was one of the cone heads in Saturday Night Live.
You were Beldar, is that? Yeah.
It worked out pretty well, but this is what people waited in line for today, and at 32 degrees, you can understand that a lot of them are taking advantage of it. Most of them look a whole lot better than Jason and I, however.
Not hard to do. Garcia on a check swing on 0-1. And Avi Garcia did go, so nothing in 2. I think you can really pull that off. I think you need to walk around Chicago with that on. Fastball fouled off.
Well, actually, from my extensive experience and years I put into the Iditarod, I can't see anything better than mushing down the trail wearing one of those.
You ever been to the Iditarod?
Oh, are you kidding? That's my middle name,
I
Stephen I. Stone.
Okay. Garcia, good contact to left on 0-2. And leadoff man on for the Sox for the second time today.
As soon as they have the Iditarod in 80-degree weather, then I will go up and take in the race.
Difficult, really, sledding. New meaning to the phrase tough sledding. 1 on, nobody out for Avila, who bounced into a 4-6 ground ball in the second. Very patient hitter. We talked about it in spring training. His take rate in terms of how many pitches he takes coming into this season, about 45%. Here's ball 1.
Well, the interesting thing, and this happens to a lot of hitters, nobody can quite understand why, they play him as a dead pull hitter in the infield with 3 of the defenders on the right side. But in the outfield, Rajai Davis is a couple of steps playing him as an off-field hitter with a step or 2 into left center field. So a pull hitter on the ground, a fly ball hitter in the air. A fly ball hitter who hits the opposite way in the air.
New baseball bat necessary for Alex Avila.
It's pretty hard to believe, but this abbreviated homestand will conclude tomorrow, and that's the final game of the first series against the Indians, and then it's off to Minnesota, where we will be the opening day for the Twins, and then assuming that all goes well, we'll have the day off on Tuesday, and then the Twins for 2 more before heading to Tampa Bay, where the weather should be substantially better.
72 and sunny always there, right?
Especially in that dome.
1-1. Inside. Gomes got a glove on it, but not enough to keep Garcia from second. Sox get a base.
I think that one might have hit off Bill Miller. I think it might have gotten by Gomes. We'll have to take another look at it. He was able to keep it in the neighborhood. Watch it again.
Yeah, you're right.
It hit right off the knee. Gomes went across doing what he can do with pretty good mobility to his right. He couldn't come up with it. It is right off the right knee of Bill Miller. It kept it in play, but heads up base running on the part of Avi puts him in scoring position.
3-1 on Avila. Sox only run across on the Abreu homer.
You would think Ramirez would have a better than average arm for a left field outfielder, seeing as he's a shortstop by trade. Davis, not so much in center field.
Got it by him, 3-2. Shuck is next, then Jackson to follow. 8, 9, and 1 in the order. Broken bat, Flair gets down. Garcia waved around, and he scores. 2-0 Sox.
He's not going to be able to score if Rajai Davis plays this ball cleanly. He had to hold up to see if Davis is going to make the catch. He didn't. But as the ball got by him, Joe McEwing, seeing the bobble, decided to send him. Then it was easy after that. This ball off the end of the bat drops right in front of Rajai Davis. If he catches it cleanly, it's going to be runners at the corners. He doesn't, and it's a 2-run lead. So there's Avi. Now the play's behind him. He's got to trust Joe McEwing, who says, go ahead. It is a single with no run batted in. E8.
Well, after that series in Oakland, this is a lot more like what we saw in that 4-game set. Yesterday being the anomaly so far, with the Sox bottom of the order having success again. Bouncing ball to first, Napoli, and they do give the out at second.
This is second double play that the Indians were supposed to turn but didn't. And we'll see if Robin wants to check to see just exactly where the foot of Lindor was. It doesn't appear that that foot is on the bag.
You don't think it was scraping the top of it?
No, it didn't look to me like that. Let's watch.
I think you're right, Steve.
It looked like he started to scrape it, only the ball pulled him wide of the bag, but no appeal made.
You get that one manager's challenge. If you're successful, you get it back. So 3-6 on the out, and Austin Jackson to hit. It's a good breaking ball for strike one. Here's another look.
Lindor's got his left foot on the bag. No, it is on the bag. That angle, his toe was on the bag.
It's a good shot.
Yeah, the call. Good camera work, guys. Call by Brian Knight at second base.
Low fastball, 1-1 for Jackson. That's one of those grand scheme of things. If it's close, it's not a huge play, so Robin keeps the challenge.
And also from that angle, it appeared that his toe was on the bag.
Well, the way the rule's written, the idea is to force the manager into a rather quick decision in order to challenge. We've seen that drag out at points, but at least the theory behind the rule is to make it be a snap judgment, and then you move on.
I think what we've also seen this year is the decisions are coming down more quickly. I think that's also something they're working on, because they'll announce the time of every decision, and they appear to be much better this year than they were last, when they were just smoothing out things.
That one gets away from Napoli on an errant throw from Anderson. J.B. Shuck peels off for second, not third. And a runner in scoring position for the Sox.
Second error of the inning for the Tribe. We'll watch it again. No chance for Napoli, as this ball's on the outfield side of first base. He can't go through Shuck to get it. And a butt burger.
Is that what that's called?
Relatively. Yeah, that's in the eastern part of the United States.
1-1 to Jackson. Hit to left. Not well enough. Ramirez is there. J.B. Shuck tests it and gets to third. So a wild pitch, pass ball, gets the Sox a run thanks to the base running of Shuck.
The wind keeps this ball in. Yesterday's game, that ball is out of the park, and J.B. heads up base running play, even on a good throw, and Ramirez again, a lifetime shortstop with a pretty good arm in left field.
So with that possible wild pitch pass ball, Sox 90 feet away from that third run. Ball and a strike on Jimmy Rollins. I was reading a story earlier today about Jimmy when he was first signed to play in professional baseball. The scout liked him so much that he fudged a little bit on Jimmy's height. He wrote 5'9" rather than 5'7". The scout saw Jimmy Rollins and said, I need to get him to the Phillies. I want to have him. So he pushed the height up a little bit. A couple inches.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. On the ground at first, and Napoli for out number 3. Sox get a run on a couple hits and an error. They double their lead, 2-zip.
Debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to www.wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, a member FDIC.
We need a crosswalk for that.
Now you read it, and Wintrust will be a very happy bank.
Wintrust.com/White Sox. There you go. To the 5th, we play. After a couple errors from the Indians in that bottom of the 4th, Sox have taken a 2-0 lead. And Uribe looks at strike 1 from Chris Sale, who's retired 7 in a row. Seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, the entire arsenal is working very well today for Mr. Sale.
Yeah, he's feeling pretty good. He's feeling good about his slider and his changeup. He's also changing speeds on the fastball. So the big velocities we've seen from Chris Sale probably went out the window with that 32-degree day. So far, he really hasn't needed them. He's limited them to a Kipnis base hit in the 1st, a Ramirez base hit in the 2nd, then an excuse me swing double play ended the 2nd inning. That was the only time that Chris Sale had any problems whatsoever.
2-2. Third base side, Frazier flops on it, up to throw, and there's out number 1.
Any third baseman does not have to be fast, but he does have to be quick. That first quick step is the key, and after that you take whatever you can get. He gets it across in plenty of time to cut down Uribe. Good effort by the Sox third baseman, who not only has proven he can swing the bat, but he's also proven that he can show a little fancy glove work.
People at home are saying fast and quick. I think those are the same.
Yeah, it isn't, though, because you're not trying to win a race at third base, but that first step. First step to either side will determine if you're going to be a good third baseman or a great third baseman. If you're not quick to either side, then you got a problem. Then you find a lot of balls getting by you for doubles.
To second for Laurie, 2 away. Yesterday, you may have heard that there was a fire at U.S. Cellular Field before opening day. I wasn't talking to just you, but thank you for answering. Firefighter Courtney Woodson was the firefighter who was injured in the fire here, and Engine 29 came and addressed the fire. Harold Baines went to go visit Mr. Woodson and presented him with this jersey just today. So great to see Harold out there with the firefighters, and we thank them very much for their work here yesterday and everything they do for the city of Chicago.
Very nice of Harold, and a true life version of Chicago Fire.
On 1-0, a fly ball to center. Chris Sale gets rid of the Indians. 1-2-3 yet again. 10 in a row for Sale, and we go bottom 5. The Sox leading by a pair.
Third bank, the Curious Bank.
Always interested in information. Fifth Third Bank. Didn't really work out well for the cat, but it's good for a bank.
Very good. They're very, very curious.
Yes. Here's Abreu, who walked in the first and greeted Cody Anderson rather rudely last time up.
Maybe he had a premonition of what would happen the second time up by walking him in the first.
Yep. That's a rocket foul, 2-1.
Our fourth drive of the game came off the bat of Jose. He was the second batter up in the third inning, and that made it 1-0 at the time.
Well, we told you in spring training the Sox home run numbers were up 50 approximately in spring training, and you'd imagine that the 136 from last year wasn't going to happen, as Abreu floats this one into center, and it gets the job done. He's been on base all 3 times today.
That's the advantage of being enormously strong, is the fact that the outfield has to play you deep. So when you do inevitably break a bat, dump one into center field, there's no chance at all of Davis getting there. The perfect day rolls on.
You'd imagine it's a lot warmer in Cienfuegos right now. This is not Jose Abreu home weather, that's for sure.
But he seems to be adjusting quite well.
He does. Swing and a miss from Frazier, 0-1. So Cody Anderson, the starter for the Indians out of lovely Quincy, California, which actually has a tie to Quincy, Illinois, Steve Stone.
And what exactly would that tie be besides the exact same name?
So this gentleman named James Bradley founded Quincy, California, and he named it after his farm in Quincy, Illinois. So he migrated from Quincy, Illinois to California and named the town, as the story goes, after the town in Illinois. So they're sister cities.
Why do you think he would name it Bradley, California?
Yeah, it's a little egotistical. Abreu into second. So you're saying your first reach is Stone, Alaska? You're going to hold the Iditarod there when you found a city?
Then I would, I would have to get up there, though, as
Abreu into second.
Hustles into second base as this one gets away. That is a wild pitch. Anderson goes to the curveball, and Gomes can't corral it. So good heads-up base running by Jose, realizing this ball was going to get away far enough. He's in easily.
So 2-1 on Frazier. Cabrera next. It's a good pitch to hit, and Frazier knew it. Davis, Abreu holds at second base. Provide your guests with the ultimate all-inclusive White Sox experience at the Home Plate Club or Magellan Scout Seats. These two premium seating areas are the best way to entertain your most important clients, employees, friends, or family. For more information, call 312-674-1000 or visit whitesox.com/premium seating.
It was a very nice shot yesterday when you came on the broadcast. Your parents were at the game with you. You introduced them, which was terrific. They were suitably emotional, as you would expect, seeing you achieve a lifelong goal. And the fact that you rented a couple of parents who were camera savvy was a really good plan.
They're publicity hounds, the Benettis.
Actually, they looked kind of surprised that they were on television, but it was really great because they felt really good about you being here, which was nice.
Anderson off the mound for out number 2. They're still trying to figure out what the magic glowing box does. It was kind of you and Hawk to have them on. It was very nice of you to spare a couple minutes, and they will appreciate that forever.
Well, you have to believe that parents are proud of their offspring regardless of what it is they do, but when you're able to achieve a lifelong goal, as you have at this point, and we'll see if you learn to regret that or not. But having accomplishment, that kind of accomplishment, you think the parents, as they were just very, very excited.
Laurie lifts it to center, and Rajai Davis looked like he got a little surprised by that ball. It's in his glove anyway. After 5, Sox still have the lead, 2-0. in Chicago, but Chris Sale has handled it very well with a 2-0 lead to his name, and Rajai Davis for the third time this afternoon with strike one. Well, the pilot went so well, the networks have picked up for another season. Sticks and Stone. America's fastest growing sensation returns in this half inning. Steve Stone.
Well, I figured it did so well in
sweeps
in spring training, and at least 2 people were clamoring for it.
Swing and a miss from Davis, 0-2. So it's the game where we ask Steve Stone how well he did against a former player that he faced with the team that the Sox are playing. It's Buddy Bell today, who's now in the Sox organization.
I did very poorly against Buddy Bell. He was one of the 2 right-handers that just devastated me.
Sale gets rid of Rajai Davis. 4th strikeout today for Chris.
In fact, nice of the crew to bring that up. There are some Indians during the course of my career that I retired, but Buddy Bell wasn't one of them.
He wasn't?
No, as I recall, it was fair to partly awful.
Well, you know, there are a lot of Sox versus Indians games this season, so, you know, it's a random sample. We don't pick meaning anything.
Ha, yeah. A likely story.
That's why we picked Dwayne Kuiper the first time.
Yes, and look how that worked out for you, or for me.
Yeah. 0-2 from Sale, who looks like he's getting better as the game has gone on.
Well, you talked about Chris wanting to limit his pitches to get deep into the ball game, and that's approximately what he's done.
High with a fastball, 1-2.
He doesn't have, and he's not employing the big fastball today. I mean, he can get it up there 97, 98, but he hasn't needed that today.
Fastball, strike 3, back-to-back Ks for Sale.
We threw him a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. He followed it up at 96, and it looks like it's twice as fast as the pitch before it. That's why upstairs at 96, you don't have much of a chance. And Kipnis, for the second time, goes down on strikes.
So 2 down for Lindor, the shortstop. Let's see exactly how poorly you did against Buddy Bell.
I thought you were going to hold it over to next inning and maybe forget about it. 310.
That's not too terrible.
It's not great.
Past Frazier, and Rollins has no play. So a 2-out single for Lindor, who's been on twice. Buddy Bell, now the vice president, assistant general manager with the Sox. 310. That's, you know.
Buddy Bell had a good philosophy against me, and the good philosophy was he would widen out his stance, and he would look for the breaking ball and take it to right center field. And then if I did come inside with a fastball, he was quick enough to be able to get to it. And so by looking the opposite way and being able to adjust to the pitch inside, he hit over 300, which is a pretty good approach against a guy who throws a lot of curveballs.
Napoli on the first pitch. Jackson is back. He's at the wall, and we are tied. An infield single leads to a homer, and it's 2-all.
First home run of the year for Napoli, giving him 3 runs batted in this year. And that was a changeup, and actually a pretty good one. It was out away from Napoli, but instead of hitting it to left, he got it up into left center field, and that very brisk wind helped it leave the ballpark. Napoli is very strong. He got a little help that time, and Chris Sale did not make a bad pitch. It just cost him 2.
So Mike Napoli, with that homer, has tied the game with 2 out against Sale. Rollins off the juggle, gets it there in time. The 34-year-old Mike Napoli has left the ballpark just left of center, and the Indians have deadlocked it at 2 going to the bottom of the 6th.
year. The injury report is brought to you by Dr. Anthony Romeo Orthopedics. If you have any shoulder or elbow problems, go to RomeoOrthopedics.com or call 312-432-2342.
I've got one problem.
How's your shoulder and elbow?
Well, from carrying you for the first 5.5, it's
that'll do it to you.
a bit of a struggle. Ball one. Well, it's reciprocity for spring training. You were there for me.
Reciprocity.
Yeah.
Good.
So 2-2. Cody Anderson a reprieve after giving up the Abreu homer and having his defense scuffle a bit in the fourth. More than a bit. 2 errors brought a run home for the Sox. 2-0 on Avi.
Bullpen up and going for the Indians. It's first time today. 84 pitches so far for Anderson.
There's a well-stocked bullpen. Lots of righties.
Yeah, it's McAllister loosening up.
Off the plate, 3-0.
He's got one of those good arms you were talking about. Was a starting pitcher early in his career with the Yankees. Came over and found a home in the bullpen for the Tribe.
Strike one to Garcia. Indians carrying an extra pitcher. Java Chamberlain activated a couple of days ago. To third, Uribe. One away. See the White Sox take on the Texas Rangers Friday, April 22nd, 7:10 p.m. First 20,000 fans in attendance get a White Sox tote bag presented by MLB Network. And stay after the game for a post-game fireworks show presented by the aforementioned MLB Network. Purchase your tickets today at whitesox.com or call 866-SOX-GAME. New fireworks this year onto the video board, too, coming out of those LED pinwheels.
I think the fans will really like the new video displays. The board in center field is huge. There are the pinwheels. I'd like to see them go off a bit more than they have so far in the early going.
Heard some fans. I was walking around the concourse yesterday. A bunch of fans said, you know, the size of the video board is great, but the resolution is so crisp. They can see it from just about anywhere. Maybe even Neptune.
It's like ours in the booth.
You're admiring our new video monitor,
right?
Which had nearly the same price tag.
And great resolution.
You know how much money it costs to keep that ball spinning in our monitor? There's a baseball spinning, you'll see, at points throughout the year. It's like $10 a revolution. Avila couldn't hold up, and second strikeout for Cody Anderson.
That was a straight change, which is a pretty good pitch for him.
Straight change as opposed to a circle change that some folks might throw.
He does throw his straight change as a circle change, but I'm just saying that he's not doing anything with it except losing the velocity of the ball. And we'll explain that a little bit later.
Uribe climbs the hill for out number 3. 1-2-3 inning. After 6. Level pegging at 2. Chris Sale to Yan Gomes, then Juan Uribe and Jose Ramirez at 6, 7, and 8 in Terry Francona's order, with the Indians putting up their 2 runs with 2 out last inning. Sale outside with ball 1. 83 pitches thus far for Chris Sale. I'm talking to Don Cooper today. He said, look, our first 3 guys went pretty far those first 3 games, but they've had to eat up some innings with Latos and Danks the last 2 games, and he'd like to see Sale go even longer than the 7 from that first start.
Well, this is what your number 1 is supposed to do. He's supposed to go deep into the ball game. Chris is deep into the ball game by today's standards, certainly. We were talking about the changeup when we left last inning, and the key to it, Jason, is to be able to throw with the same arm velocity but not the same ball velocity, and to do that you have to change the grip, and then you have to use the same release point as you do with your fastball. Other than that, the hitter reads it, and it's very easy for him to then sit back and look for the changeup. But from Anderson and from Chris Sale especially, Sale has a magnificent changeup, and you look at the arm velocity, it looks like a fastball. It's just because of the grip the ball doesn't get there as quickly.
High fastball there, 3-2. What goes into arm velocity? What are you describing there?
The arm velocity is not that difficult because you learn how to do it with a fastball. But because you, on your fastball, have the ball on the tips of your fingers, you have the ball back in your hand on a changeup. And so by having it back, and you talk about the circle change, which is where you make a circle with your thumb and your index finger and then actually throw it with the other 3 fingers you have left on your hand after you use your thumb and your index finger. You can use the same arm velocity, but the ball doesn't come out as quickly and usually will move away from a right-hand hitter from a left-hand pitcher.
See where he goes on 3-2. Gomes tags it to left. Cabrera back, and this ball's out of here. Yan Gomes makes it 3-2 Tribe.
First home run of the year for Yan Gomes. He now has 4 driven in. He played Pepper with Rollins at shortstop the first 2 times at that, but working the count to 3-2, he got one to his liking. That one outside part of the plate. Gomes able to take it out of the park.
First lead today for the Cleveland Indians, who went wire to wire yesterday. And this pitch dodges the outside corner. Wrapped to short, Rollins. Now number 1. Well, this is a big anniversary in Sox history, Stoney. 1993, Bo Jackson coming back from his 18 months of rehab after the hip injury. In his first swing back, did this.
That ball hit deep to right field. Turnover goes back, looks up.
It left.
It would appear to me that that ball was gone.
Yeah, way gone. Robin Ventura.
That ball hit deep to right field. Turnover goes back, looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes! Bo Jackson in his first advance.
Robin was on that team, and I had asked him about today about the homer. He said, the amazing thing is Bo comes back, and we thought this is a lot to ask, to do something like this. And then Bo hits the homer, and he says, basically, yep, that's Bo. That's what he does. Just big things in big spots. And, some folks might forget that during the strike year, he had put up really significant numbers. There's a single from Ramirez with 1 out, and then after that, retired from baseball.
There's no telling what he could have accomplished without that hip problem, but he had it. Not much you can do about it. And Ramirez continues to swing a hot bat against our Sox.
Great spring training at 313 and nearly 65 at bats. He's 2 for 3 today.
Still nobody up in the pen as Chris is at the 97 pitch mark. This isn't a day, however, that takes a whole lot out of you because you can't sweat.
One and one on Cowgill, who's nothing for 2. So how many pitches do you think you get more out of a day like today?
I think it depends on the strain at which you're using those pitches. For instance, 3rd, 4th, 5th inning, and 2 outs into the 6th, Chris was sailing right along, and there wasn't a whole lot of strain. And all of a sudden, the base hit by Lindor, the 2-run homer by Napoli, and the leadoff home run by Gomes to go with a single by Ramirez, and all of a sudden, you're trying to reach back and get a little something extra. So you would think this would probably be the last inning of work, in that he's knocking at the door of 100 right now, and the next pitch will be number 100. But that's why the pitch count is somewhat deceiving. It depends on the stress in which you're making the pitches. Some days you can get to 100 and you seem like you're coasting. Other days you're 75 and you've gone to the well 3 times and you're exhausted. So
pitch number 100 will have to wait there. Now the bullpen is starting to get loose.
And it's Matt Albers, who's done just a great job. He looked terrific in Oakland. He looked great all spring. And it shouldn't take him long to get loose. Even on a cold day, relievers are taught, and that's why they warm up and throw before the game. They're taught you're not going to have that many pitches to get loose, so make sure that you've had the proper warm up before the game starts.
Biggest pitch count for Sale by inning came in the 1st, and he's testing that now. 3-2 on Cowgill with Rajay Davis next.
Cowgill with the Angels last year for 55 games hit just 188.
Runner holds. Cowgill swings through it. Strike 3. Want to bring your little all-star closer to the game? That's little all-star closer to the game. Not the back end of your Little League bullpen. Fans 13 and under can join the White Sox Kids Club for special Kids Club giveaways, free White Sox tickets, and exclusive events. You can bring your little closer too, little Bobby Thigpen. Head to whitesox.com/kidsclub today to join.
You've got yourself a little closer. You'll eventually make a whole lot of money. You won't have to work. Probably will be able to send him to school and later be his agent as you cash in on megabucks. Closers are tough to come by at any age.
Especially in 6th grade.
Yes.
2 out for Davis. Ball 1. When did little Steve Stone know that he was going to be a major league pitcher?
When they called me in my first spring training major league camp and said, "You've made the team." Other than that, it was flip a coin.
Back to first, Ramirez.
I just actually got to sign. I was thrilled to sign a professional contract because that's the first step. You got to sign one of those.
1-1 on Davis.
Then what has to happen, you hope that you can stay healthy long enough to realize whatever potential it is you have, because we see it all the time. Guys have great ability and all of a sudden their body just breaks down. Jared Parker, we just saw him in Oakland. Second Tommy John, this one extensive surgery, probably has lost his career. And he looked like he was going to be just an outstanding pitcher, but your body just can't take the strain. It's not for everyone, and everybody's body cannot hold up. So you lose a whole lot of talent to that. It is very much a game of attrition. And some guys try as they might. With all the ability in the world, they just cannot hold up, and they never make it.
1-2. Up 2-2 Well, Chris Sale's one of those self-made guys. Came through Florida Gulf Coast and has turned out at least the beginnings of an outstanding career with the Sox.
He's just scratching the surface. There's no telling how good he can be.
Light contact in the air. Rollins in pursuit for out number 3. But the Tribe takes the lead for the first time. A leadoff home run for Yan Gomes, his first homer of the year, and at stretch time the Sox need a run to tie.
Around the major leagues.
Hey, it looks like the Tigers might lose for the first time this year.
Wow, that's news.
How about it? Oakland at Seattle later on. Minnesota still winless on the road for Kansas City. And the Cincinnati Reds, we saw in spring training, we thought they're going to hit. Don't know how the pitching's going to be. But Cincinnati leading 5-1 over Pittsburgh, and that would be the first loss for the Pirates. So the unbeatens are falling quickly, Stoney. Duck if you're undefeated.
The races are starting to heat up.
Yes. Can you feel it?
I can.
Yeah.
I wish they would start to heat up here.
So it was Baltimore, Detroit, and Pittsburgh coming into today, the only unbeaten remaining. And 2 are trailing as Brian Shaw checks in for the Indians.
Brian Shaw is a man that picks up a lot of innings. Last time out against the Red Sox, he was credited with a hold, 1 inning, 1 hit. In the last few years, you'd be hard-pressed to find a busier man in all of baseball than Brian Shaw. Last year, he appeared in 74 games. That's actually for him a fairly light workload. His ERA, 2.95. He was 3-3. But he's the man that Terry Francona calls on when he needs a premier setup man when they have the lead.
He and Matt Albers were actually in the same trade, that Trevor Bauer trade that included Lars Anderson and Didi Gregorius. 3-team trade. Shin-Soo Choo, Jason Donald, everybody was in that trade. You're not cool if you're not in that trade. 1-1 for Jackson. Again, Austin Jackson at the top of the card today because Adam Eaton and his wife Katie are expecting their first child. Katie, at least at our airtime, had gone into labor, so our best to the Eaton family, which is, by the way, a baseball family through and through. One of their first dates, Adam and Katie, who met at Miami of Ohio, Adam took her to the batting cage.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I should have thought of that.
There's still time.
Save on the cost.
Nothing says romance like buzzing the tower.
Like here, hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. See if we can handle this one.
Well, Adam Eaton, a very pleasant guy in the clubhouse, has always got a smile on his face typically, and best of luck to them and their family. 2-2 on Jackson. High, 3-2.
Shaw's best pitch is his slider. He uses that quite a bit. Jackson, pretty good luck. 2 for 7 against him. Both of them doubles, so that pencils out to 286.
On 3-2, a laser from Austin Jackson. That is a good start.
Giving him his first hit of the day. And that one down in the zone. Austin stays right down on it, driving it by Uribe at third base.
So now the question is, do you bunt Jimmy Rollins here? Abreu on deck. You might take the bat out of his hand.
I think it would be a lot more difficult last year with Abreu on deck without Frazier behind him. So it's something to bear in mind and see what Robin decides to do with Rollins 0 for 3.
Rollins swings away and cues it down the line. Jackson peels off for third. Rollins into second base. Second and third. Nobody out in the 7th.
Well, in the area of hindsight being 20/20 now, I wouldn't bunt with him. I'd let him swing away and maybe he can cue that ball down the third baseline. This is a slider inside or a fastball that moved like a slider. And he was able to take it by Uribe, and probably it got by Uribe because he was in anticipating the bunt. So now not only the tying, but the go-ahead run in scoring position.
And the guys you'd like to have up to do it are coming. Abreu, Frazier, Cabrera on the way.
Terry Francona does not have the infield in at all 4 positions because he's going to walk him. And with nobody out, he's going to take his chances with Todd Frazier.
Knowing Todd Frazier, he's having a conversation with himself about how big of a spot this is.
You can't blame Terry Francona because anytime a manager thinks about it, he makes a decision. Don't let this one particular guy beat you. And that one particular guy in the Sox lineup is Jose Abreu.
Ball 4, bases loaded. We remind you that the Xfinity Fundamentals above left field at U.S. Cellular Field is accessible from the 100, 300, and 500 levels. Young Sox fans can learn baseball from the Sox Training Academy coaches in batting and pitching cages and base running areas. Check out the latest Xfinity technology, including the X1 platform. X1 by Xfinity. It will change the way you experience TV. Bases loaded. Nobody out for Frazier. What's he looking for here?
Well, from Shaw, you're probably looking for a slider. I would say middle out. That way, if you get a fastball away, you can still stay on it.
High, ball 1.
Shaw's getting under the ball, and that's why it's staying up high. So right now the mechanics aren't good, and let's see if the Sox can take advantage of it.
Frazier to left and foul.
Left with about a third of a bat, so he'll have to go back and get another one.
Bases loaded for the Sox. Jackson at third, Rollins at second, Abreu at first.
Couple of grand slams in the career of Todd Frazier.
One and one from Shaw. Low and in, 2-1.
That was a slider, and he didn't have a good feel for it because normally that pitch is away. He let it slip. It is a chilly day and didn't get a good grip on that one.
Inside, ball 3. Nowhere to go for Shaw.
And the bullpen up and going for the Indians. Shaw, who hasn't had a whole lot of problems with our Sox, is having some problems here this afternoon. And Zach McAllister, for the second time, throwing in the pen.
3-1. On the ground, foul. It's the danger of walking somebody to load the bases, isn't it?
Well, you trust when you got a veteran pitcher that he's not going to walk the man behind him. And certainly Terry Francona did not have that in his game plan. So Zach Duke getting ready in the pen. Good opportunity here to blow this one wide open.
Frazier homered yesterday. 3-2. On the ground to short. And they only get one. Jackson scores. We're tied.
This is the third time in this ball game that the Indians had a bona fide chance at 2, only to come away with 1. And it goes a run batted in, the 5th of the year for Frazier. He taps it to the left side. Lindor there takes an extra beat, and no chance to get the throw off for Kipnis. Just like that, Melky would have a chance to put the Sox back on top.
You said it. Bonus base runners for the Sox.
Yep. All afternoon long.
First and third, one out. Outside. Went after a ball that was going to hit the dirt. 1-1. Melky Cabrera against Brian Shaw for his career 2 out of 7 with no RBIs as yet. Joe McEwing talking to Jimmy Rollins. First and third, one down. Outside, close pitch.
Normally, from what we've seen of Shaw, he's able to make this pitch. But that ball, as you can see, Gomes tried to yank it back in the zone. You're not going to get that call. The catcher making too much movement to get it back on the outside corner.
2-2.
McEwing going through his set of signs. He will verbally tell Jimmy Rollins exactly what he's just given across the diamond.
2-2 from Shaw. High, and Melky laid off it well. Where do you go 3-2, Steve?
Well, if you're Shaw, he's most likely wanting to go away. Trying to get Melky to roll over it with a ground ball.
Setups outside. And he fouls it away.
He put it on the outside corner. Threw it a little higher than he would like, because that's, if he does hit it, that's a fly ball line drive as opposed to that ground ball that he's thinking about with only 1 out in this inning.
Frazier at first.
You saw Frazier early in the game get a running start at first base, only to see the ball then grounded out.
Chop foul by Melky Cabrera. He'll see an 8th pitch in this trip.
Nice job of staying alive that time. Tried to get the ball inside, but again, it didn't move very much for him. Just about everything has been away that last pitch. He tried to cut it on the inside part of the plate.
3-2. down and wrapped foul again.
That time Frazier was running. So an effort to stay out of the double play and ease across the go-ahead run. Robin had some movement. Jose Abreu. Very good day today. A perfect day, as a matter of fact. An intentional walk, an unintentional walk with a home run and a single to go with it, and a run scored and one driven in.
Shaw walked only 19 last year in 74 games. 3-2 on Cabrera. Line shot. That gets down. Rollins got a late jump. He scores anyway. 4-3 Sox.
Oh, and it is a great thing that that ball did get down, sinking in front of Cowgill in right field, because Frazier was standing on second base. At that point, there's nothing you can do. Our Mazda replay. It's an off-speed pitch from Shaw, and Melky stays right with it, driving it into right field. Drives in his first run of the game, his second of the year. Cowgill able to block it, but not before the go-ahead run comes across the plate.
How about that at bat from Melky Cabrera?
Yeah, that was a very tough at bat. That's what he was capable of. That's what we saw the second half of last year.
So now Brett Lawrie with 2 on and 1 out still takes high. Shaw is really fighting himself.
Yeah, this is a day that we're not used to from Brian Shaw, because normally his control is pinpoint. Hasn't been the case here this afternoon. And I'm sure probably right around 28, 29 degrees has something to do with it.
Well, that's a guy that went to college in Long Beach. Grew up in California. It's not like this in Long Beach. 30 degrees.
Not normally, no.
Yeah. You went at the wrong time, I think, if you've seen it
when,
like that.
What is that? El Nero, when that comes in, as opposed to El Nino?
No, well, he was the one that was fiddling while the rain burned. Lawrie center field. Rajay Davis has a read on it. 2 down.
This inning started off with Austin Jackson, a good swing at a 3-2 pitch driving into left field. Then an opposite field squibber just inside the line by Jimmy Rollins necessitated the intentional walk to Abreu. They couldn't turn a double play on Frazier, the tying run scoring, the go-ahead run on Cabrera's single. And here we are with a chance to add yet one more to that 1-run lead.
Avi Garcia singled and scored in the 4th. He struck out swinging in the 2nd against Cody Anderson and bounced out to 3rd last time. Chip shot foul.
A lot of work for Brian Shaw. He's not used to throwing 30 pitches in 1 inning. But that's largely because the man who consistently, all of the last couple years, was ahead of just about each and every hitter, has fallen behind most of the Sox hitters in this inning.
He's ahead of Avi, 0-2. Yeah, it's so funny, that first strike for a pitcher seems to lead to the 2nd strike very quickly. You see the confidence almost build.
It's completely different at bat when you throw strike 1, because it makes the hitter in a more defensive mode. You throw ball 1, now he's looking in a spot, because he doesn't have to swing. He's ahead in the count already, so he's looking for a spot that he can handle. Strike 1, sometimes he's got to protect.
Avi to right field. Cowgill is back, still going. It is gone. 3-run home run. Avi Garcia breaking it wide open in the 7th.
First home run of the year for Avi. His first 3 runs batted in. And a late change to this lineup might have been the defining move of the game, because when the lineup first came out, it was Garcia in front of Lowry. Before we started the game, it was a switch. Lowry in front of Garcia. Avi comes up just in time to hit a 3-run bomb that's going to chase Shaw. And as he walks out, we'll step out and be back after these messages. A tough time today, and that necessitates Zach McAllister coming in the ball game. And last time out, he beat the Red Sox, going 1 1/3 innings, giving up a hit. McAllister, a hard-throwing right-hander, having found a home in the bullpen for the Tribe. He's 6'6", 240, out of Chillicothe, Illinois, and last year for the Tribe an even 3 ERA in 61 appearances. And there is one of the heroes, Avisail Garcia, with a line drive home run. This being a high fastball up in the eyes of Garcia, takes it over the head of Cowgill, out of the ballpark, into the bullpen, and makes it a 7-3 game.
You've talked a lot about exit velocity this year and how the ball jumps off his bat. That was another display of Avi Garcia's strength.
Well, he hit the ball so hard in the 4th inning, a base hit to left field, and now using right field. This gives you an idea of why they've given him the opportunities to be in that lineup. He had a great spring, and the Sox, of course, are hoping that he carries it over, and it's been a good day today for him.
0-2 on Avila from McAllister, who came up through the Yankees organization. Inside, 1-2.
McAllister's dad is a scout. He currently works with the Arizona Diamondbacks as a Midwest cross-checker, meaning when they see somebody they really like, they'll send in Steve McAllister, find out just exactly what he thinks about that particular prospect.
Hacked foul by Avila on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Exit velocity 105 miles an hour on the Avi Garcia home run, which is quite good as those numbers go.
He's perennially in the top 5 as far as how quickly that ball comes off the bat. Gives you an idea of his strength, his bat speed, and when he does make contact, how much damage he can do.
Strike 3 for Avila, but the damage was done for the Sox. Avi Garcia, 3-run shot to cap off a big inning. The Sox have the lead by 4.
7-3 game. Sox about hit the Indians 10-6. Chris Sale, a quality start. 7 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, a couple of homers with 6 strikeouts and a couple of walks. Abreu, his solo shot coming in the 3rd inning, and Garcia, his 3-run shot coming in the 7th. It's brought to you by the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event, now at your Honda dealer. So Zach Duke comes in the ball game. He's going to look at Jason Kipnis.
He has been more, as Zach has, at least so far this season. He's been more of a lefty-lefty specialist than taking a full inning.
And there you look at the numbers in 3 games.
Rollins has no play. It's a single for Kipnis, who's 2 for 4. Those are specialist numbers. 3 games, 2/3 of an inning for Duke.
And a trip to the mound as Kipnis doing what he always does in this ballpark, making something happen offensively. So Zach Duke, being the specialist he is, will exit. And Matt Albers will come into the ball game, and we'll step out and be back after these messages. And there you look at the numbers so far. He's been awfully good. On for the 3rd time. Just 1 hit in 2 innings. And he inherits Kipnis at first base with the heart of the order coming up. Lindor, Napoli, and Santana.
Lindor 1 for 2 with a run scored on the Napoli homer in the 6th off of Chris Sale, which tied the game then at 2. This is a similar situation to a couple of days ago. Matt Albers came in with 2 on and 1 out in back of Zach Duke and got a pop out from Canna and a ground ball from Andrew Lambeau of Oakland in that series finale. 6-1 win for the Sox. Lambeau has gone down, by the way, for our old friend Eric Surkamp. Back to the majors. He's now the 82nd person to play for both the Giants and A's.
They needed another pitcher and didn't need another move off the bench. They used pitchers very liberally out of that pen in our series. Lindor, by the way, on fastballs last year, .642 slugging percentage. That was 6th in the major leagues out of 201 full-time players. And as a very young hitter, it shows you the kind of potential he has, which is truly unlimited.
2 strikes on Lindor. Pretty good pitch on 0-2.
Yeah, what you'd love to see from Lindor, you want to see that ball down a bit. And although he does have some decent speed, you'd love to see him beat the ball into the ground. Indians even without Michael Brantley, and he'll be lost probably to the middle of this month, maybe a touch longer. They still have some thunder in the middle of this lineup.
0-2. Inside low. It'll be an interesting lineup when Brantley comes back, and if they can get Lonnie Chisenhall playing like he has at points in his career. He had a really rough spring. When we saw them, he was 1 for 21, injured with Columbus right now in AAA, but it could have a much different complexion very soon.
They've given Lonnie, who was a former #1 draft pick, a lot of opportunities to secure a job. Now he's going to try to secure it in the outfield.
Lindor went down to get it. Jackson on the retreat for out number 1. Enjoy U.S. Cellular Field just like a player. Play catch in the outfield, warm up in the bullpens, visit the dugouts, and much more. Join us for Family Field Day Saturday, May 14th, and support Chicago White Sox charities. To purchase tickets, visit whitesoxcharities.org.
That's a very entertaining day at the ballpark. Get a chance to get down on the field and look up at those many seats and get a feeling of what major league players feel like when they do the same thing.
Take a look up at Steve Stone demolishing the pregame spread as well.
Pretty good. You know, they had hamburgers today, which, as you know, I can avoid many things, but not well.
I was a witness
burgers.
to that demolition.
Yeah, that was fun.
Earlier today.
I enjoyed that.
Oh, 0-1 for Napoli. Close pitch.
Hit his first home run of the year against Chris Sale in the 6th inning. It was a 2-run shot that tied up the ball game, only to see a home run by Gomes put the Tribe ahead ever so slightly.
Check to first.
That was the second home run, excuse me, by Mr. Napoli. Don't want to short him one.
They all even out during a baseball season.
You'd think that, but if you were a pitcher, no, it doesn't even out.
1-1 from Albers. Fouled away. How about Trevor Story of the Rockies? How about the start that that young man has had? And when you and I saw him in spring training at Salt River, you said, this kid's going to hit 243 homers this year. And he's on pace for exactly that. Well, done by you.
That's just good scouting. But certainly he looked strong enough, and he looked like he had a pretty good swing. And he's hit 6 home runs. He's homered in 4 consecutive games. And quite a remarkable start for the Colorado Rockies youngster.
He continues that, and you have Nolan Arenado as well. Certainly the pitching still might be a grave issue, but it's a much more dangerous lineup for the Rockies, who open play today at 2-2.
They're going to score some runs. They've always hit the ball, especially in their home park, and that's where they're going to play today.
Albers gets strike 3. Swinging, down goes Napoli. What a start to this season for Matt Albers.
And that is a big strikeout of a very powerful hitter. And Albers has shown a lot of movement on everything he throws. He showed it all spring, and nothing has changed coming into the year. To give you an idea, as we were talking about Trevor Story, if he hits a home run today, be the first player in Major League history to hit home runs in each of the first 5 games of a season. The first in history. He already became the first player in history to hit 6 home runs in his first 4 games.
Wild.
Considering that this game has been played for quite some time, that is something.
0-2 on Santana.
Now's a good time to be ahead in this game, because if you take a look at the pitcher, who is in bright sunlight, as is the entire outfield, and you take a look at the hitter, he's immersed in the shadows. That's not a particularly good look. And again, it's a good time to have the lead.
He got him. Painted the inside corner, strike 3. Albers gets all 3 he faces.
Terrific job getting out of a jam. And a good fastball shaving off the inside corner. He fanned 2, getting out of the 8th inning with the lead. A very happy dugout.
The Sox dugout, by the way, is the Monmouth bench of baseball right now. They are fired up.
Well, you can expect that these guys will be very happy when a guy comes through and does a big job. And Jabba Chamberlain comes in the game against the Red Sox. He pitched an inning. Jabba is becoming, as they like to call it, a much traveled veteran. After his days coming up with the New York Yankees, he since trimmed that beard, which at times was a bit unruly.
Drew an insect or 2 periodically, as you recall.
It did. I believe that was in Cleveland.
It was.
Yes. I used to draw them myself in Cleveland.
Yeah, for other reasons. 2-0 on Shuck.
Being born and raised there.
You have quite the reputation.
That was
Cuyahoga County.
That was before the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
You've been there, right?
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Huh. I have a season pass.
Sprinkle a little paprika on it. See if they'll take it through the whole year. 2-1 on JV Shuck. Three balls and a strike.
There was some controversy with Jabba Chamberlain was with the New York Yankees. There were a few people in the front office, including the owner, that wanted him to be a starter, which didn't turn out to be a great idea, as their baseball people tried to explain to them. In the meantime, Jabba had, I believe, a trampoline accident. Something along those lines set back his career a touch.
He breaks a bat here, and Kipnis on to first for out number 1. tell you about MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV or just tweet at Steve Stone for details. Steve, how do I log into my account?
I'll be more than happy to tell you. Brad Boron helped me today before the game, by the way, something that I desperately needed. I know this surprises you, but a couple of my apps, as it were not functioning.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Like your email in spring training.
Right. Well, so he was able to get me. I now, amazingly enough, have wended my way into 2,000 emails.
Really? New
Yes.
emails?
No.
Oh.
Very old ones, as a matter of fact.
Dear Steve, we're no longer friends. You don't respond to my emails.
I think he got
Sincerely, everyone.
everyone ever sent to me. Sent up to my trusty iPad, which was the first, by the way, ever made.
The first iPad?
Yeah, it's very slow.
You got it rolling off the line?
I'm trying to get the second inning now on the iPad.
Austin Jackson hammers this one. But Rajay Davis is there. A different wind day? Maybe it's out of here.
Well, Napoli was able to cut through that wind in the same spot. However, the wind has shifted because it was blowing out earlier in the ball game, actually across toward the right field corner. Now the wind is blowing straight in. And of course, give you an idea how steady the temperature is here. We started the ball game last night. The temperature stayed at 43 degrees the entire game. And today we started at 32. It has stayed at 32. I'm kind of thinking that whatever we start the game at, it's going to be that way.
Just stay there for the whole game. 2 down for Jimmy Rollins. Strike one. It was really interesting to watch this field drain pregame, because when I got here, same when you got here today, I think the field was covered in snow. There was snow throughout the outfield.
Yes.
And very quickly heat up the pipes. And Roger Bossard has this field in pristine condition to play again, as there is Jake Petrichka getting loose in front of a lovely picture of a hot dog.
There's very little better than a Vienna hot dog.
Steve, what condiments would you put on that hot dog? We'll get to that later. Here's what the snow removal
This is
looked
what
like.
This is what it looked like early. And this was on the tarp because they couldn't move the tarp because of all this snow. This was 9:45 this morning. It's hard to believe that this is the same field that was completely immersed under what was kind of a snowstorm that my partner and I saw up close and personal because of a wonderful decision that you made, by the way, to walk to dinner last night only to come out and realize we were in Nome, Alaska because there was a blizzard walking home.
We were a little late to the party on Winter Hat Day today. Would have helped quite a bit last night.
But the crew did a great job. Roger is just outstanding at what he does. His entire crew gets his field in shape each and every day. You could never tell by what it's looked like during this game what it looked like at 9-something this morning. There is some snow left, but not too much.
You ask folks, where did the rest of the snow go? Where do you put it? The answer is on top of Steve's car outside. That's the receptacle for the snow.
Being in the restaurant business myself, I would have gone into the snow cone business.
2-2 from Chamberlain. That's strike three. So Jabba comes in, gets a 1-2-3-8. The Indians trail by 4 going to the ninth.
GNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local Nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 38 years. To join the nation, visit jeffvuk.com because Nationwide is on your side.
It's good to know.
Just in case. You can
use
never be
somebody
too
on my
well
side.
covered.
Strike one from Matt Albers. Here in the ninth, 7-3 your score. You know what tomorrow is, Steve?
I do. It's getaway day.
Get away from me day.
Get away from you and get away from sunny Chicago as we wend our way to an equally sunny Minneapolis.
For opening day at
Yep.
the lovely confines of Target Field. It's also the first Coca-Cola Family Sunday of 2016 as Tyler Saladino has come in at shortstop for the ninth, the defensive replacement for Jimmy Rollins. Coca-Cola Family Sunday tomorrow. Minions will be roaming the concourse. Not Steve's Minions, the little yellow guys from Despicable Me. Strike three from Albers. He has fanned 3 in a row and retired all 4 he's faced. A lot of fastballs, Steve.
Well, the fastballs aren't overwhelming. What they are, they've got late movement. And at 95 miles an hour, which is normally a little harder than Matt will throw it, you add that movement to it, they become unhittable. And since coming in for Zach Duke, Albers has fanned 3 of the 4 men he's faced.
Ball 1 to Uribe, who is 0 for 6 in the series, and just 1 for 13 for the season thus far. Saladino just checked in. His first chance is on target, 2 away. Well, the Sox were down in this game 3-2 after the home run from Yan Gomes in the top of the 7th. But in the bottom of that inning, a 5-run frame for the Sox has everybody standing in a 7-3 score with 2 out in the ninth.
About ready to see the first victory here at U.S. Cellular Field and run the season record to 4-2 with 1 more out.
Ball 1 from Albers to Jose Ramirez, who's 2 for 3. That just nipped the corner. Nice pitch, 1-1. In the air, left side. Melky's got it. Sox wins 7-3, your final. And a 5-run 7th did the trick for the Sox.
Matt Albers was absolutely brilliant in his 2 innings of work. Then just enough offense. The long ball, very much in attendance today. The 3-run homer by Avi Garcia did the trick. And at the end, the series tied at 1 as the Sox looked awfully good today. Chris Sale now 2-0.
Sox were 16-15 at his starts last year. They're 2-0 this season. 7-3 Sox win. We'll step aside and wrap it up after this.